Hello and welcome to another edition of Capital Region Real Estate Today with Anthony Gucciardo. Great to see you again.
Great to see you too.
You've been in this business for over 20 years here in the Capital Region.
24, yes.
You've seen the great times, you've seen the awful times. How do things look now?
We are very stable. It's still a strong market. I'm sitting in a house here in Latham that I purchased a few months ago from an estate on Mill Road. We purchased it around the low 400s, put over 150 in, and we'll be asking 724. By the time this show airs, it may be sold, but we'll certainly showcase it. But if you price your property right in this market, it will sell. I wouldn't say it's as strong as 2022 or 2023, but if you've been in your house 20 or 25 years, you still have strong equity.
Interest rates are a very, very big topic these days, especially with pressures from the national debt up over $40 trillion now. How much are rates actually affecting buyers?
Buyers are starting to realize, I've said this on many shows, marry the home, date the rate. Get in the house you want, find it, because when the rates go down, and they may go down, they may stay where they are, they may go up, there's going to be a surplus of buyers on the sidelines who have been waiting. And if you've been waiting since 2022, the market has essentially gone up since. So I would say more buyers are realizing that prices continue to climb. I don't think we're going to see a major correction in this area. You may see other parts of the country. South Florida is starting to correct. Prices are down 20 or 30% in certain counties where people have overbought or oversold, especially on the West Coast and the East Coast. But a lot of buyers in the Capital Region have realized that they can always refinance, and they are entering the market.
And what about the income requirements? I've read that there are now higher income requirements to qualify for mortgage and so on, and actually lock some people out of a median priced home. Are you seeing that here?
The banks are still strict with lending. We got into a big mess in 2008 because people who were making 30 or 40 grand a year were being approved for homes that they could not afford. Yeah. And essentially what the banks have done and what the government has done to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself is they are tightening the regulations and the guidelines on these loans. So we're seeing a lot of 10 and 20% down. And we're also seeing a lot of cash buyers in this area. A lot of people are coming from, Boston, New York City, Virginia, other parts of California, and they're coming here and they're cash purchases. So we're not having to worry about financing. A lot of my sales, I handle a lot of listings in the Capital Region. They are 30 to 40% are cash transactions or sizable down payments, which is a lot. Now, in the county that I have a place in Florida, Collier County, I think it's almost 65% are cash transactions.
Well, that has a reputation for being a very ritzy, affluent
Naples,
area.
Southwest Florida is very ritzy, but when I started, most purchases in the Capital District, this is going back to '02, but from 2002 to 2012, most of the purchases here were conventional or FHA or VA financing. Rarely did we see cash purchases. Now that number has really flipped, where I'm seeing 30 to 40% are cash transactions or sizable down payments over $200,000 down.
What draws the New York and Boston people to here?
Well, perfect example. I'm going to put a house on the screen. I just listed a house in Niskayuna in Edison Woods, 245 Menlo Park Road. Gorgeous house, 4,500 square feet. That house we listed for $1.55 million, and it sold very close to that price in 2 days. Wow. Now, I also sold another one last year on Brittany Place for $1.4 million. 20 years ago, no one would dream of getting $1 million in Niskayuna. I mean, the highest sale price back then was maybe 6, maybe 7. Now we're almost doubled. I mean, you're 1.4, 1.5 million. So with that being said, these houses in other markets, Westchester, Boston, they're over $2 million. So if someone can get a job here, whether it be GE or Global Foundries or people moving in to work for the airport, you see all different types of employment opportunities here. The housing is still relatively affordable compared to other markets in the country. So that drives our prices up, because somebody from Brooklyn who can't afford a $3 million brownstone comes to the city of Albany and buys a 3-family for $600,000, and they think they got a deal, when in reality the sellers are clapping because they paid $80,000 for it 25 years ago.
Are those $1 million homes the example you gave of sold in 2 days, are those the hottest sellers now?
The hottest sellers still remain under 600 because under 600 has almost become our entry level market. When I started, a lot of houses were 150, 180, maybe 200. Now the entry level market in the capital region is about 350, 400,000. Anything under that is generally a townhome or a fixer-upper in a good degree. So when you get above that $1 million price, there's less inventory and there's less custom inventory. So the people with that champagne taste, it's often difficult to find a luxury property. So when something like Menlo Park or my listing on Stone Ridge comes up, they sell quickly because they're special properties with a lot of work. I just listed something in Saratoga on West Ave. I'll put that on the screen. 116 West Ave is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath townhome, $675,000. It's got a rooftop pool. It's very close to the track, very close to downtown Saratoga. I've gotten a lot of calls on that, and most of the calls are people from out of the area who want a place in Saratoga. If you look at Lake George, we just sold one on Cleverdale. It was listed for $695. We got a great price on that. No lake rights. Could you ever have imagined 20 or 30 years ago that we'd be selling lake property with no lake rights near the lake for those numbers? We never could have imagined. So yeah, prices are definitely on the rise, and I think they will gradually continue to climb.
What makes your company stand out?
You know, things like this program, I can't share all my ideas because obviously I know my competitors watching. So many realtors reach out to me and oh, I don't work for you, but I admire what you do. And we do a lot of things behind the scenes that really make our offers for our buyers stand out, and when we're negotiating for sellers, protect them. Perfect example, I just got an offer on that $1 million house. The deposit was rather weak. I went back and I said, we need $25,000. Now, the sellers didn't mention it. They were okay with the initial deposit, but as their advocate, I said, hey, we want a stronger deposit. So you always want to make sure you're hiring someone that goes the extra mile. And I always tell people, I want to treat you like I treat my parents or my in-laws or my relatives. Sometimes you look at a house and you don't think it's the right fit for the buyers, you tell them that. And if a seller calls me and they're in really good physical shape, I'll share a sad story with you shortly. I may tell them not to move because sometimes if you're selling a $550,000 house that you're maintaining, you may not be happy going into a much smaller house for the same price with higher taxes. I met a gentleman recently in North Greenbush. I won't share the location. I walk into the house and there's an overbearing odor of urine, unfortunately. He was in his 90s. And he told me that the doctor had given him 6 months to a year to live, and he really had to make a move here. And gorgeous house, but it was so deteriorated from his lack of being able to do things anymore. He hadn't been upstairs in 2 years. So when I went upstairs, the smell got worse and worse. And all of a sudden I walk into these rooms and there is feces and mice droppings everywhere.
Oh, dear.
He hadn't been up there. Now he has a $20,000, $30,000 issue on his hand because they've been there for years. They've ruined the floors, they're in the walls. And he was kind of arguing with me that it would only cost $500 to fix up. And I said to myself, I hope I never reach that point in my life where a professional is trying to help me get out of what's becoming a mess. And I argue with them because I'm so stubborn. And I hate to say it, but I don't know if anyone will be able to make sense to him because he hasn't been upstairs and he hasn't seen the mess that's been made. But if it gets to that point and you can no longer take care of your house and it's deteriorating, you need to sell.
And if you're in your 90s, you remember a very different economy than what we have now.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something. I do meet 85 and 90-year-olds who are meticulous and they take care of their house and it's wonderful. And then I meet people who just physically can't do it anymore. I know that your home is your home and you're safe there and you're comfortable, but if it's going to be a burden to the estate and your children or whoever's taking care of you and the asset's going to depreciate because of the condition, you really want to make sure you get out before you lose too much money.
Late summer, early fall, moving on toward Thanksgiving and the holidays, good time to sell?
The next batch of buyers in the Capital District, we've passed the back to school deadline. They're going to want to close by Thanksgiving or Christmas. So I have several houses coming on the market in September that are absolutely gorgeous. My prediction is that they will all close by Thanksgiving. It'll be a very happy holiday for a lot of people.
But if they close before Thanksgiving, had they waited till spring, would the price have been higher?
Well, here's the market sentiment. A lot of the mentality in the market is that spring is the best time.
Yeah.
But if you have active competition, meaning you have 6 houses in the neighborhood for sale, and other houses stand out compared to yours, and their prices are a little more attractive, that's going to push your house to the back burner. So you want to come on the market when the most serious buyers are looking and there's fewer sellers. Some of my busiest months, I'm actually planning on going on vacation this week because I know it's a slow time. Back to school is always a slow time. But November, December, you would not believe how many transactions we do because most serious people are looking and the most serious sellers are selling. And I say that we've sold several homes in Florida. Some of the best times to buy in Florida, July, August, September, because the snowbirds are not there. The most serious sellers are on the market in the summer. The seasonal sellers who are looking for 30% more than the house is actually worth, they list in January, February, or March, hoping to get some sucker from New York who's driving by the open house and falls in love with the house. So if you're buying in a seasonal market, buy when it's out of season because that's when you'll get the best price.
Interesting. What's currently the hottest real estate market here in the capital region? You mentioned Saratoga, you mentioned Lake George. And
Saratoga and Lake George are like the niche hottest markets,
absolutely.
but I still see strong values in Latham, Loudonville, North Colony, South Colony schools. Guilderland has exceeded the $1 million price range. The entire capital region is hot. I mean, I have a great listing coming up in Pond Hill, 39 Indian Pipe Drive, a Marini-built, gorgeous Sagamore colonial double staircase. I'm personal friends with Bob Marini. He could not build that house today. He'll tell you that for what we're asking. We're asking $1,045,000. So a lot of the resale homes are really shooting up in price because the builders have gone to more of a compact product, more of a boxier, simpler home, less architecture, just because it's so expensive to build and people don't want to pay.
Yeah.
So a house, now when I started 20 years ago, when I got a call for Rensselaer County, I was happy, but I knew my work was cut out for me because they didn't sell quickly over there. When I get a call for Rensselaer County now, they sell within a week or two. So this house in Pond Hill is gorgeous. I'll put it on the screen. 39 Indian Pipe Drive. You're not going to want to miss this one.
What areas around here are undervalued?
Undervalued. Well, this is what's happened. You look at pockets like Latham, Loudonville, Colony, and they have premium rated school districts. Okay, I went to Shaker, great school district, great teachers, great staff. Those areas on the outskirts like Cohoes, Troy, Waterville, those areas rise in value behind the prime areas because as people get priced out of Latham, they go to Waterville or they go to Cohoes. We just had a $650,000 sale in Cohoes with Cohoes schools. One of my agents, Pavel Karakauchu, sold it. That's a record for Cohoes. So I would say all the areas have increased in value, but if you buy on the outskirts of the prime areas like Schenectady, I sold one on Parkwood Boulevard for $330,000 in multiple offers. If you look at what that house would cost in Brooklyn or the Bronx, it'd be $2 million. So there's a possibility that areas like Schenectady, Troy, they're going to keep running in value. Those are probably the areas I would invest in.
Really? So those could be the hot
They
markets.
could keep going as the market runs, and they're in the 3 range. They easily could go to 4 or 5.
Will there be another major wave of buyers entering the market? When do you think that might be?
Well, as I said, I think there's buyers on the sidelines, but if you see and you follow the news and the economic forecast, the prices continue to rise. So, I mean, it would be great if, I don't think it would be great, but if the market did correct, I mean, you're going to have a lot of investors enter the market because the common understanding of real estate is you buy and hold and you just wait. So I think the capital region is always steady. You're always going to see buyers coming in and out. I mean, would I recommend listing your house December 19th? No, I'd wait till January. But seasonally speaking, this really isn't a seasonal area. It's 4 seasons a year, and we sell in all of them. So, depending on what you're looking for, lakefront property, same thing with lakefront property. Great to buy in the winter when the most serious sellers are on the market. Somebody who's looking in July is usually looking for 10 to 30% more than that same seller in January, February.
Interesting. How important is staging when you're selling?
Well, 58 Mill Road here in Latham, we did stage this home. We do offer staging services. Some homes don't need it. Some homes just need a little advice on decluttering. But staging is always something I do recommend. We do have furniture. You know, I took over the condos at Vly Point. This is another property, 802 Vly Point. I want to put on the screen. We have sold out of Vly Point. All of the Viscusi condos. Viscusi did a great job building them. Top quality work. We have a resale now at 802, which is on for $574. And that property is turnkey, move-in ready. Those sellers are relocating. So that is something to take into consideration. There's a lot of people who are downsizing here, and staging definitely helps.
What's the biggest mistakes people make with staging?
The biggest mistake people make is not realizing that less is more, okay? You don't need a ton of stuff. You want to minimize. This house is painted white for a reason. We want people to imagine that they can add their color. You don't want to come in and paint too many pastels or Mediterranean colors or, you know, too many bright colors. There's a time and place for that, but when you are remodeling a home or you're getting ready to sell, neutral is the way to go.
You're going to have an open house here. You've had many, many others throughout your career. Do people make an emotional decision within a couple of minutes of walking in a home saying, yeah, this is it?
Generally, I've purchased dozens of homes in my career, and I like to think that I'm of the mindset that I make my decision that this is a possibility within 30 seconds to 2 minutes, you know. So if you walk through that door and there is a pet odor or there is a lot of scuff marks or dirt, that's going to turn you off.
Right.
If you walk in and there's classical music playing and the lighting is right and it smells great and the decor is great.
And the apple pie is in the oven.
And the apple pie is in the oven, or, you know, there's kids playing next door. That's going to set the stage that this might be the home for me. I'm not a huge fan of open houses, but I do them just to get people in, especially on houses where, you know, people may wonder about them. So generally we do private showings, but for this house, since it is staged and it's something I'm involved in, we're going to do an open house the first weekend.
All right, somebody comes in here, within 30 seconds, they're emotionally attached to this house. Well, not necessarily this house, but any house. Can that be a mistake? Will they disregard things that an inspection may find because they say, oh, I like this place, we'll deal with it?
Well, here's the thing. If you're buying new construction, you're generally not going to find many issues.
Yeah.
When you're buying a resale home, no matter the age, there's always going to be something you find. So what I always tell people, if you can live with a few little issues or mistakes that maybe you don't like, look at what's most important to you. This house has a first floor primary suite. If that's something you want, that's a plus. Now, maybe somebody wants a more open lot with less trees, that's something you could work around. You can remove trees. So I always say, what are the top 4 things as a buyer that you want? And then you go through the list and see what's most important to you. This house has a 3-car garage. You can't find many 3-car garages
No,
in
you
Latham.
can't.
So that's a plus too. You really have to sit down with your broker, like myself, and figure out what is most important to you and then go from there. But I will say that we see a lot of buyers that just, unfortunately, their budget doesn't allow for the expectations that they have, and they end up becoming frustrated and think that we're not doing their job. But when you tell me you want a 4-bedroom, 4-bath house on an acre for $350, that just doesn't exist anymore.
Do some buyers walk away from a house for something that's relatively insignificant?
Yes, they do. For example, a radon test comes back a little high. They usually have second thoughts other than the actual defect that was found, and they will use the radon or the mold or some simple issue that can be rectified at a relatively affordable price to cancel the contract. So that does happen a lot. This is one thing I will share with sellers. I get a lot of offers, okay, and they're good offers, and the seller takes it. And then a day or two later, I get a call from another agent. My people really want to make an offer on this house. And now the competitive mindset enters the
Right.
agreement. And somebody will come in 20 or 30,000 higher. But when reality sets in, now they start to think they overpaid and perhaps they cancel. So I always tell people the first offer is usually the best offer. Try not to get greedy, because I have seen the greedy offer win and then the greedy offer blow up. And then the first people are like, no thanks, we don't want it anymore. And then the seller's left with nothing. So I always tell people, treat people as you want to be treated. I understand that money is important to a lot of people and that a top sale price is important, but be very careful before you enter another contract once you've signed one, that deal is definitely going to go through. And as an agent, there's things I can do to make sure that it does go through.
I see and really see all over the place, price reduced, price reduced,
A
price
lot of
reduced.
price reductions, yes.
Is Is setting the price a little on the high side a good idea? And
Not the smartest thing to do.
you're not a
because-
fan of that.
Not a fan of that. I think, listen, if I go to a house in Latham, Colony, Clifton Park, and all the other homes have sold for $450, and maybe they started at $410 or $425, and they sold for $450 in multiple offers, I would say start at their original list price of $410, $425, and if the market dictates enough value, the buyers will bid it up. But if you start at the highs, and that was 6 months ago or a year ago, and now the market is cooling, there is a chance that you're going to have to lower the price. So I am of the mindset that start at a realistic price. If I tell you $399, that's the number, there's a good chance you're going to get multiple offers. If we start at $430, and that's the height of the market, and it doesn't sell in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, then you're forced to come down to $410, and before you know it, you're getting offers of $380, $390. So it's often better to start right at market or slightly below to increase the chances of a multiple offer situation.
How long does it take you to determine what is a right price for a house in a market?
Well, I've been doing this 24 years, so
Yeah.
pretty much in my sleep, I can tell you where the price should be within a range. I do like to give the seller the option because there's a lot of realtors, those realtors who you see price reduce, they generally go in there with an inflated list price to win the listing, gain the seller's confidence,
Right.
and then when they lock them into the agreement, they have them reduce the price. And there's an old saying in real estate, you can't reduce the price on the listing you don't have. So they kind of encourage you in real estate school, take it at whatever, and then you can lower it. I tried that for a year or two. It doesn't work. It gets people unhappy. The next realtor comes along and he looks like the hero. I prefer to look like the hero and not waste time and play games. So be careful of agents that tell you a ridiculously high price. Now, sometimes I'm the highest price just because I know I had a house in Niskayuna a few weeks ago. I knew it was going to sell because of the decor, the pool, the layout, and I knew there were multiple people looking. And they said that I was $50K higher than all the other brokers. We got $60K. So we got 10 above what I said because I knew there was a demand. It doesn't
Yeah.
always happen, but sometimes it does.
Well, you went, phew, it worked.
Yes, it worked.
Zillow and all those Realtor.com, all of those things online, it gives you a
Gimmicks.
ton of it.
Yeah, great for pictures. That's it. Don't rely
Really?
on Zillow estimates. Don't even the pictures. You know, there's a lot of AI now. I'm
Yeah.
all about self-improvement, but go look at the house. You know,
Yeah.
whenever someone says, "Oh, I want to buy a house on Zoom," no, thank you. You should not buy a house unless you really have somebody in that market that you trust that knows your taste. But I would be very careful, and I've gotten hurt a few times buying cars online that I thought were great. Send somebody that you trust to inspect that property because pictures can be deceiving, lots can be deceiving, greenery can be deceiving because in 3 months all the leaves are going to be down. So if you're buying a house, it's likely your biggest investment. Please have an inspection and please go there and look in person.
You believe very strongly in honesty is the absolute best policy,
Absolutely, yes.
which some
Gets
people
me in trouble sometimes because I'm too blunt, but yes.
well, but what through your career has led you to feel that is the case?
Because first of all, real estate is a very competitive, cutthroat business. And if you do the right thing, it's going to come back to you. Forget the billboards, forget the TV programs. Word of mouth is the best form of advertising.
Right.
And if I treat all my clients the same and I give them solid financial and real estate advice, they're going to remember that when they come and sell the home. Now, unfortunately, the market is inundated with realtors, and sometimes I see really great clients go with a discount broker because they don't want to pay the 5 or 6% commission. But you have to remember you get what you pay for. And if you're going to hire someone who just got in the industry to do them a favor, there's a chance you're leaving money on the table. There's a chance mistakes can be made. You know, I was away for 2 weeks in Italy, and I answered my phone every day. A little bit of a time difference, but one of the ways I like to stand out is through communication and providing client advocacy, going above and beyond so that the clients know that they're being taken care of. Because at the end of the day, there's no me without the clients.
Did you ever lose a sale being brutally honest?
Oh, many times, yes. I mean, and the nice thing is sellers sometimes will tell you, hey, we didn't go with you, but we regretted it 6 months later. And that does happen. And, you know, listen, I'm all for, if I tell you $399 and you want to start higher, that's fine. But just remember, it might have to be reduced, and that's not always the greatest thing to do. So,
What's the biggest misconception about this market, this upstate New York Capital Region market?
well, The biggest misconception, I would say that that's a really good question. And I think the market is still on the upward trend. I think people think it's going to correct, but when you look at other markets, I still think we're below those high median sale prices. So I still think there's value in the Capital District. I think there's tremendous growth opportunities. You know, you can start a business in Albany or Schenectady. Try starting a business in Manhattan with $50,000 a month rent. You know, Naples, Florida. I love Naples, but try and start a business on Fifth Avenue down there, or Miami or Fort Lauderdale. I mean, there's still tremendous growth here. Do we have? That's a whole other show, politics, which I will not get into. You know, we have higher taxes, things like that, but I don't think the Capital Region market is going anywhere anytime soon.
And the taxes that this place has a reputation for, they really are, it's really not interfering with the market.
Not so much, because when you look at other parts of the country, we're still relatively reasonable. I mean, the taxes are up. I mean, the average property and school taxes are between $8,000 and $15,000 for most houses. So, but incomes are up too. Yep. And people, you know, people are paying. I definitely think there's economic uncertainty, and I definitely think there will be people who lose jobs and have to sell their houses, but I don't necessarily think that they're going to lose money on those houses unless they've drastically overimproved.
And you do have growth in areas, especially the high-tech areas around here, that's bringing
Saratoga
in some people
County,
with
southern
with
Saratoga
cash.
County, yes, we're definitely seeing Saratoga continue to climb. And we're seeing a lot of people in our market, they're purchasing homes through me in Florida. I had a Marco Island sale, I had a Sarasota sale, I've had Naples sales, Fort Lauderdale. The number one place that people go seem to be Florida.
Boy, those realtors down there must love seeing you move into town.
Yes, and they are, and I really love that my clients trust me enough to have me help them.
If someone's watching today thinking about buying or selling in the next 6 or 12 months, what should they be doing now to actually get ready for it?
They should have me or one of my top agents come out to the house, discuss what we can do for them, talk about marketing strategies, talk about pricing strategies. I'll tell you right now, if you're looking at selling your house in 6 months, we're not going to pick a price today. We're going to pick it about a week before we go live, because we need to see what's active. We need to see what's sold. We need to see where interest rates are.
Right.
We need to see what the weather's doing. There's a whole lot of factors. But having us come out now to introduce ourselves would be the right step. You can visit anthonygucciardo.com or call me on my cell phone. I always have it with me. I'll answer, and we'll set up a meeting.
Okay. Any closing remarks?
As we approach the fall of 2026, I want to thank the Capital Region for another outstanding year. We'll surpass 100 million in sales again, and your comments and your emails and stopping me when you see me in public means everything to me, so thank you. Visit anthonygucciardo.com, and as always, Jack, thank you for hosting the show.
And it's always my pleasure to do so. Thanks very much, Anthony. Thank you all very much for watching. This has been another edition of Capital Region Real Estate Today with Anthony Gucciardo. I'm Jack Arnicki. Have yourself a wonderful day.